Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. My name is Marc Gallagher and today is quite a special day for me actually. December 2nd marks 1 year since I released this, Songs from a Happy Winter, my last album. This is a record that's quite special to me. It's one I'm really proud of for a few different reasons, and I thought I'd spend this video just chatting to you about it, about how it sort of came to be and where my life has been in the last 12 months or so. So really it kind of all stems back from 2016. 2016 was a really bad year for me. I was going through a tough breakup, I was moving house, struggling with uni, and things were just generally not going my way. I was just quite a miserable person, but I also realised that I started writing more than I ever was until that point. I'd started writing from about June or so, and then I noticed in about August where my sort of writing was going, and I considered, okay, let's set a cut-off point at like end of August, and I'll have like an album of songs from a shit summer, because that was pretty apt of the time and the things I was going through. So with the cut-off point set, pretty much I had that 3-month span from June to August, summer, and I had about 12 songs or so. And from there I was decided on, okay, let's have this album play out in chronological order of when I wrote the songs. So it kind of plays out like a musical diary of sorts, a sonic journal if you will. So with those songs written, about January or so I head into the studio and find a recorder, and it's just uke and vocals, and it's very stripped back because I really wanted to draw an emphasis on what I was saying and how I was feeling, and really throw an emphasis on the emotion there without cutting over too many parts. Looking back now, I realised that it was a bit musically unstimulating in places, and also the album's really bloody depressing. But I'm proud of it. I'm glad I managed to kind of get those feelings off my chest. And 2017, in July, I released the album, and response was pretty warm. People liked the fact that I managed to express myself in such a way. The next year, 2018, I released Level Up, which was just generally quite happy year, and it was full band arrangement of my songs. I was really pleased with how that turned out. Still pleased with the songs that I play to this day. Everyone still asks for Brew in the Morning. It was around 2018 at a ukulele festival in Scotland. I was chatting to one of the performers there, just chatting about music, and she quipped, so when is Songs from a Happy Winter coming out? I saw the joke, I could see where she's going with it, but then later I kind of came round and thought, actually, that's not a bad idea. In late 2018, I kind of decided what I wanted to do. I had a batch of songs which I'd written, just didn't record, but I kind of put them on the back burner in favour of this project. I was like, okay, let's make Songs from a Happy Winter. Let's show a more positive outlook on life. Let's show people the progression that I've made from that depressed boy a few years ago. So I had it set from December 1st until February 28th. That was my 3 months, what I was defining as winter, for which I was to write this album. So 12 weeks roughly, song a week, that's 12 songs, there's your album. It was during this time that I was like traveling a bit more. The first song, English Country Day, is from my time in Cumbria. I went to Sedbergh and to Keswick. I love the tranquility of those places. As a small town boy myself from Nantwich, now living in a big city like Manchester, the difference is stark, and I love how peaceful and how independent small towns can be. Songs like Who Wants Some Booze was about me being a bartender. All Came Back Around is about a friend of mine who was going through a bit of a slump and me sort of reaching out to him. And of course there are also love songs, because I write a lot of those. Things like The Next Move, which is about someone that I chatted up at a gig. But I also went to travel Europe. The first few months of 2019 I was living in Germany and neighbouring countries, and the last half of the album is written in my bedroom in Berlin. So you've got reflective songs like 10 Years That Made Me, which looks back at my 10-year anniversary of being a musician and how that's changed everything for me. You've got sentimental things like Intimacy or Hound from Betty Lane, the latter of which is about my dog. And also as a nod to my love of the German people and the German language, I did a couple of songs auf Deutsch mit Überrasch und Vorbeikomme. And then the song ends on a lovely note with Mademoiselle, a song about a French girl that I was seeing in Amsterdam. I'm really glad with how sort of the journey of the album sort of turned out, and like with Shit Summer, this was played out chronologically when I wrote it. It's a musical diary of this winter, and I just committed myself to, okay, I'm going to have a great winter, I'm going to have just a nice time doing nice things with nice people, and that's why I went traveling. It's why I went trying to sort of challenge myself in these ways. So by the end of February, the album was written. By the end of March, I was back in the UK, so it's just a case of recording. For my first 3 albums, they were all self-produced. I utilised the facilities in my college and then later my university, and they were all self-recorded, self-mixed, etc. By 2019, I was no longer a student, so I didn't have free access to these facilities, but also I kind of wanted a separation of like my artist hat from my producer hat. I acknowledge that I'm not the best recording engineer in the world. There are plenty of people who are better than me at that job. I'm totally at peace with that, but also because of my music production degree, I can still sort of talk the same language with engineers and producers about what we want sonically from the record. I chose Vault Lab Sound Studios in Rochdale. During my time as a student, I interned with them a couple of times as a shadow engineer and just like a team maker and, you know, plugging stuff in, as you do in that industry. But during my time interning, I liked the sound of the studio. I liked the atmosphere of it. It didn't feel so clinical. It felt quite warm, and I felt like I could be in a comfortable headspace to make the record. We booked out like a week of time to record, and these were 10-hour days. It was pretty intensive work, but it was a lot of fun. I played pretty much all the instruments on the album, and that's because I'm fortunate enough that I learned to play piano, guitar, bass, as well as uke and as well as other things. I was planning on playing cajon because I'm not a drummer, and I was thinking of, okay, drums cost a lot of money to record because bringing a drummer in, they take longer to set up and it's just more awkward, and I kind of like the idea of just having Marc Gallagher played all instruments. But partway through the week, as we were adding all these parts, like with our multiple guitars and our bass and piano, etc., it kind of felt like if I was playing cajon, it was just sort of like a cajon pretending to be a drum kit. There was a noticeable emptiness there. So my producer Jamie and I decided, okay, we need to make drums for this happen. Fortunately enough, my producer Jamie was a drummer before starting the studio, and he was bloody incredible. He managed to get exactly what I wanted rhythmically for the songs on the album. Vocal Day was pretty fun. There were some things which didn't quite work in practice as they did in my head. The biggest example is in the song Fly Away. When I wrote that song, I sang it an octave down, and the chorus melody would be, and I'll fly away, step in the shoes of Mercury. So on the way home the previous day, I was driving home and I sang the song to myself up the octave. So I could see the same sunrise that I see every day, as opposed to down the octave. I could see the same sunrise that I see every day. And as I was singing that, I thought, oh, that sounds and feels bloody great. I'd love that. And what I hadn't accounted for when I came into the studio was actually the chorus was out of my reach. So that melody, and I'll fly away, that did not work up the octave because I can't hit that note. And I'll fly away. I spent so long working on it, and it just, whether I tried to belt it or I tried to go falsetto, it just wasn't working. And then we just made the executive decision of just change the melody to a note that I can hit. That's kind of how that song kind of adapted, was just because I got carried away with, yeah, I can sing it up the octave and it won't be shit. But I felt such a relief when that week was over that I finally got the songs from my head, from my page onto tape, or onto computer in this case. I also had a lot of fun during the mixing portion of the album making process. In mixing, Jamie was working remotely at his studio, and then he would email me mixes that he'd do, and I'd give feedback accordingly. I remember the excitement I felt like hearing these songs just like come together. I also used kind of wanky like terminology to kind of describe what I wanted out of the record. The most prominent example for me comes from Mademoiselle. In that song there are a couple of uke parts, one strummed on a low G uke, the other is finger picked on a high G. And in the first mix it sounds the strummed uke is pretty low down, and the high G picked uke is a bit too prominent for my liking, and I described it as the low G uke, the strummed uke, that's like the acoustic guitar to this song's Wonderwall. And I know that's like a mental way of kind of describing like an instrument for its part in the song, but Jamie was great. He was able to sort of translate what I was trying to say into the product that we now have, and I'm thrilled at it. Mastering of the album came from Katie Tavini. She was fantastic. I knew her from my time at SSR, my uni, now Spirit Studios. She was a receptionist there, so I knew from my conversations with her that she did mastering, and I thought, you know, support local people, support our own, I guess, and I'm glad I went with her. Her masters of that were just incredible, just it brought out a level of polish that I didn't think I would have gotten on my music. And also she saw the budget I was working with and managed to like do 3 of the 11 songs for free, so I am mega grateful to her. And then came the release. One of the things that I was really excited about with this album was the merch possibilities. I went to 5 different artists with the same brief of draw me as a snowman. So I went to a few friends of mine. I went to Echo Tunes, Juliana Steiger, Ria Allwood, Thunderbolt Photography, and Kate and Hoops. And they all sent their various designs in from the same brief, and I managed to make badges and stickers out of those. My favourite being the pin badges that Juliana Steiger designed. The enamel pins, I adore them, and they're just probably my favourite piece of merch still, and I've still got a bunch of them. I ended up actually having to reorder them because I had someone from the States who loved those pins, and she was in a ukulele group, and she wanted to get a badge for each member. All 35 of them. That blew my mind. I'm so glad that, you know, I was able to have that warm reception. I just need to shift the rest of those badges and all the stickers. And then came release day itself. I chose to release it at the Old Pine Pot in Salford. It's a venue I adore. I love the open mic night that it had there before COVID took over the world. And timing wise, I decided to do it on a Monday night. My philosophy was, okay, if it's a Friday or Saturday, there are other gigs happening, people are busy. Whereas Monday night, nothing's happening, everyone should be free, in theory. My support acts were Liam Calley, the Northern Rambler, and also Sam Lyon, my best friend. I'm so glad I managed to get their support. I was also looking at making a backing band happen, but it was so difficult trying to get everyone in the same place at the same time. It ended up being a bit more of a stripped down affair. So I had Emily Mercer on piano, and then Sam Lyon was playing acoustic guitar, accompanying me, and I rehearsed with them separately. And then like we did our first like full band rehearsal like just a few hours before the doors opened. It was sort of like a strip band. It wasn't like full, but I'm still really glad they were able to kind of expand my music in a live setting. Next time I'd like to, you know, spend a good few months like working with the band properly. In terms of like attendance, the launch was pretty humble. I had about 15 or 20 people come. A few of them came for free because they were helping out in various ways, such as like photographers or merch stand or manning the door takings. And a part of that is completely down to like my audience being based a bit wider. You know, I've got fans and supporters from around the country and in places like Europe and in the States and in Canada. And it's an amazing problem to have, but it was just sad that I couldn't kind of get a more localized reception. And I know that I shouldn't, but I always have a problem with like thinking comparatively. I think the previous week I went to the EP launch of my friend Matthew Carey. He's one of my favorite songwriters, and he did his like bedroom produced EP, and he had a night that was like free entry, and I went, and I'm so glad he got the support he did because there was about 100 people there. The night went amazingly, and I just loved the amount of love he was getting, and I remember thinking about that during my night, and I was thinking like, why don't people like me? But it wasn't too bad once the album was actually out. The love I had from people sharing it on their stories, people ordering CDs and stuff. It was my favorite feeling was going to the post office in the mornings just with all these CD orders. I was really grateful for. But then after that initial rush, there was a bit of a dip. And it's a dip that hasn't recovered yet. Basically, sales-wise, this album has not done great. Of the 100 CDs I printed, I sold 27. I still have a box of 73 in my car just waiting to be sold. And it kind of sucks because I understand that people don't really have CD players nowadays, which is bloody tragic. People's cars, they now are like Bluetooth or USB mostly. Shit Summer, which is just like not as good an album, that sold out all 50 CDs within a month of release. Level Up, I printed 50 of them, and that was all gone relatively quickly. It saddens me that like of the 3,000 people nearly that follow me on Facebook, I can't get 100 of them to buy a CD. It's like nearly 5% of my fan base, under 5% of my fan base, that don't have that interest. But it makes me think as well, because my music is not just the original songs I write. My fan base and my supporters is from these videos that I do, from the collaborations, and they want to see more of the covers and stuff. So you take like work like this, and it doesn't tickle their pickle, and it's a shame. But I guess the biggest problem is like I spent about $3,000 on this album. I mean, yes, I could have gone like the self-produced route, like in my bedroom thing, but it would have sounded very bedroom, and I wanted to show a progression. I wanted to like put effort in to making it, and I was hoping that by doing that I would have seeing the results on the other side, and that hasn't happened. I remember the heartbreak I felt when I got the bill from Volta Lab. They discounted me wonderfully, but just because of the very nature of me recording a full album, full band, it cost a couple of grand, and then there was a few hundred for mastering, and then the merch. I spent a lot of pissing money on the album. A few times this year I've had a few people ask me, so Mark, when are you going to like release some new music? And the short answer is, I'm not. At least not for a good while. Considering how much this costs to make and how little in return I've seen, I don't know if there's demand for me to release new music. I don't think people care about the music that I write. I understand that like music sort of veering more towards Spotify. I was like not really putting as much emphasis on that. I was prioritizing like CD sales, because one CD sale of 10 quid equates to thousands of streams on Spotify. So it was just simple maths for me. But looking back, I guess I could have done more with like the Spotify playlisting and guessing on them and getting tens of thousands of streams like I've seen contemporaries of mine do. As for where my original music's going next, I alluded to, like, before I started writing Happy Winter, I had about an album's worth of songs which I kind of kept on the back burner. I was considering making an album with those songs, however, I don't know if that's quite the right direction to go in this time round. I think for the next time round I'm going to go down the EP route, so I can take this album's worth of songs, divide it into a couple of EPs, so there's less pressure on me to write more. I can have a couple of releases of these. Maybe I can look into doing more singles and trying to draw up like continual hype based on that. And also, like, recording costs will be halved because I won't be recording 11 songs at once. I'll be recording 4 or 5. I still want to support Volta Lab and support local studios because they've been hit so hard this year, but I'm gonna have to do at least partly recording at home, and then other elements like drums or piano I'd want to record there, maybe vocals record there because it's a really nice space. So yeah, that's where I see my music going in the next year or so. 2021 probably. I'll save up some money from like my Patreon and use that to fund an EP. But yeah, I just thought I'd be open with you guys and honest. Like, I'm really happy with Songs from a Happy Winter. It's something I'm really proud of as an artistic vision. I'm so glad that I got to make it happen. But I also wanted to address the realities of how it's not done that well and how people don't like original music, it seems, or at least they don't like my original music. It saddens me a bit. Well, it saddens me quite a deal because I love songwriting, and it's a shame that people don't like my songwriting. I guess my main takeaway is, if you like someone's music, support them. If they're a local artist, support them, put your hand in your pocket. I understand that we all can't, especially this year. I totally get that. It's just, if there's a difference between a stream on Spotify and buying someone's CD. In my case, I spent £3,000 on this, and not even 5% of my audience wants to buy it, because that's the difference between whether they make new music or not. Because I've had people asking me when I'm gonna make new music, and I can't afford to because no one buys the fucking thing. But by no means is this video all doom and gloom. This is a celebration. This is the marking of a year of something I'm really proud of, and I want to celebrate that with you guys. So there's a special offer for this month, the entire month of December. I'm doing half price off all of my merch. So my CDs, my badges, my stickers, my bottle openers, my bottle caps, everything Marc Gallagher related, it's all half price. Head to my Bandcamp store, marcgallaghermusic.bandcamp.com, and use the promo code 1YearOn, and it's half price off everything. Who knows, maybe if people can buy this for a £5, they might buy it for a £5, but I can use up this unused stock and try and put it towards, as well as just keeping me going, also maybe towards newer music that's, you know, people might like, maybe. Thank you so much for watching this video and joining me in the marking of something that's really special to me. Hopefully you've enjoyed the little behind the scenes look at some of these things. But please, support independent artists, they really need it. Until next time, my name is Marc Gallagher, and I wish you a very happy winter.